Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikon here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Redout for the PC. So Redout is another one of those futuristic racers with the anti-gravity ships, and as you guys know, I'm a pretty big fan of those, and especially a pretty big fan of WipEout, so I decided to check this one out and tell you guys my opinions on it. So you guys might be wondering, so what exactly does Redout bring to the futuristic racing genre? And I gotta tell you guys, the very first thing that I felt when I started playing Redout is, I don't know how to say it. It was very unfamiliar. It took quite a while for me to get to grips with the controls, and I also thought it was kind of weird that, I'm not sure if my game was glitched or something, but by default, all of the HUD options were turned off, which I find kind of weird, because like I kind of want to see how much health my ship has, how much energy I have to boost, and which lap are we on, and all this other stuff. Everything was off, and I was just like, this is weird. So then I experimented with it, and the very first thing I got to give it a bit of a ding, which is I really did not like the UI. So the way that they do the UI in this game is you have the health to the left of your ship, and you have the energy to the right of your ship. And since usually when you're playing a futuristic racer, you're paying a lot more attention to the track itself than to the ship, it almost gives you the illusion that your ship has like side sections that aren't really there. It's the UI. So the UI kind of bummed me out a little bit, the way that they made it. I really wish they wouldn't have glued the health and energy of your ship to the ship itself. I wish they would have been elsewhere on the screen. There's a lot of space on the screen to put UI elements. You don't have to put them in the middle of the ship. Because it's not something that you need to look every single second. You need to be looking at your energy and your health and all this stuff at every single second. You can like have it somewhere else, and so that you can keep an eye on it every now and then. At least that's my personal opinion. So the UI, I have to say, the UI bothered me a little bit. So next up, like I said, I had a bit of trouble getting used to the controls. But once I got used to it, I kind of got into the rhythm, and I was able to get to grips with actually controlling the ship. So what's the main difference here? So instead of what we're used to from WipEout of having your left air brake and your right air brake, what this game tries to do is it brings in a mechanic which is called strafe. Now the strafing mechanic essentially consists of using your right stick to move your ship more to the left or to the right as you're curving in these directions, and essentially your ship strafes a little bit. It's very subtle strafe, but it helps you in doing the curves. So you actually have a generic brake that just straight out gives you, it brakes the entirety of the ship. It doesn't brake left to right like I'm personally used to. But using the brake in combination with the strafing mechanic while you're speeding up and whatnot, going through all these tracks, it allows you to obtain a similar effect to air brake left and air brake right, which is what you usually want. You want to basically get the ass of your ship to move in a certain direction so that you can almost like drift through the curves. However, like I said, after you get used to it, you can do that kind of stuff. It just, again, it takes a while, but it does feel very rewarding when you start adjusting to all of these to all the different control schemes that the game has and all that stuff. Something that I wish the game would do, though, is you also have pitch up and pitch down, and this is particularly used because the game has a lot of corkscrews and loops and stuff like that on some of these tracks. And if you don't pitch up as you're going through a loop, your ship actually scrapes the bottom of the track, which is, you know, it's a little bit more of it's a skill element that they put in there so that you're like, okay, you're going to have to pitch up when you come to these. So you're going to have to keep tabs on whether or not you want to use your turbo, whether or not you need to brake, whether or not you need to pitch up, strafe left, strafe right, and there's a lot of stuff to keep tabs on is what I'm getting at. But it is, like I said, once you start mastering it, it is very satisfying to drive those ships. So this game has, obviously it's got online, it's got it's got online, it's got local split screen, and it's also got a career mode, which is where I spend most of my time with the game. And in career mode, you have to basically select a team. And once you select that team, you're going to start, you're going to get your first ship. After that, you can later down the line, you can buy additional ships if you want to. But the game kind of you can clearly see that the game wants you to dedicate yourself to a team, at least on the first couple of on the first couple of races, on the first several races even, because, you know, dedicating yourself to a team, you're able to fully upgrade your ship, you're able to get the second class of your ship, you're able to get contracts with that team so that you earn additional money. And basically, let's just say there's advantages to sticking with one team. So pick it right. Personally, I picked, I don't remember the exact name of the team. They all have really weird names. But I picked one of the ships that was not very durable. So the hull was very fragile, but it had a lot of speed and acceleration. And what was the other thing? And grip. It had a lot of speed, acceleration, and grip. Now, this game also has other stats like the energy recharge, how fast your boosters recharge and stuff like that. So that is something that you have to keep in mind because that is also extremely important. It contributes to how often you can actually press your turbo boost. Now, you guys might be wondering, what about combat? Is there combat in Redout? And the answer is, it depends on you, I guess. So you can get a power-up for your ship. During the time that I've played, my ship was only able to have 2 power-ups. One of the power-ups was passive. The other power-up was active. And in the active power-ups, you can get stuff like EMP shockwaves and stuff that leeches energy from your enemies and so on and so forth. But personally, I went with something very different because, like I told you guys, I had a ship whose hull was very fragile, so I took a repair bot just in case I ever took enough damage so that the repair bot could go ahead and fix my ship. And then to compensate for the fact that my ship didn't actually have a lot of energy recharge, I got a passive which improved all of my energy generation and all this other stuff so that I could kind of balance out the weaknesses of the ship. And I have to say, this kind of like the power-ups, the actives, and the passives was actually somewhat satisfying because basically you pick a specific ship. That ship is going to have certain stats that it's not going to be very good at, and you can kind of use these other things to improve on that. However, only having one active power-up feels very disappointing because essentially when you're doing races, like, you're only going to have that one power-up. That's it. There's not, you know, power-ups that you're going to pick up as you are going through the tracks. So you're not going to be going through tracks and just straight up, you know, shooting rockets at people and stuff like that. That is not this game. This game focuses a whole lot more on the racing. So as we're talking about the racing, I might as well discuss the sense of speed. You do get a really, really good sense of speed. Now, I know that this game is also available on the Switch. I'm not exactly sure what the performance is there. I actually requested the game on Switch, but they sent me a PC version. So on the PC, with my GPU, it was everything running fully maxed out, 60 FPS, and the sense of velocity was really, really good. Particularly as you start getting on the more advanced tracks and with the more advanced ships, it's really cool. And another really good feature that I enjoyed in here is the fact that whenever you do, obviously most futuristic racers do this, whenever you get the fastest lap ever in your record on a certain track, the game lets you know. But the one stat that I really liked that the game kept track of is the longest jump. So I would always be trying to jump as much as I possibly could, and a lot of times I would end up outside of the track because you can get a lot of airtime in this game because you have, like I said, the controls of pitch up, pitch down, strafe left, strafe right. So when you get a jump, you're actually able to steer your ship while in the air and do and basically position yourself in a way that you can kind of stretch that airtime as much as possible, which, to be completely honest, is not the most advantageous thing to do when you're in a race that you're actually trying to win, but it is always nice to try and be like, oh man, I'm gonna jump a little bit further this time. This time I'm gonna do a little bit more. I think my biggest jump was like 1.5 kilometers, which is probably not even that impressive in the grand scheme of things. But again, it's always satisfying trying to beat your own times and, you know, going at it that way. But again, if I would have to criticize something about it, I kind of feel that the Redout kind of suffers a little bit from lack of diversity when it comes to ship selection. Now, sure, you can buy other ships, but essentially you're kind of gimping yourself if you're spending your hard-earned credits in purchasing other ships, because you're not upgrading the ship that you currently have, and you're not upgrading potentially you're not going to be upgrading the same modifications that I was talking about, the upgrades, the passives, and the active, the power-ups. That's what I wanted to say. You're not upgrading those power-ups, and you're not making your ship better. And if you're just buying other ships, you're basically going to start falling behind as you do more and more races. Now, of course, you can repeat races and grind for money, but it's not, it's not particularly satisfying. I'd like to get into a race and then suddenly be like, oh, I want to try out a different ship. And again, you can, but you have to grind the currency to basically do that and upgrade your ship and not feel like you're nerfing yourself a little bit. So that's kind of something that I felt, because basically I started playing with one ship, and I've spent most of my time playing with that same ship, upgrading it, upgrading the power-ups, doing all of these things. Then eventually, since I was already used to how that ship handled, I was like, okay, we're going to go into Class 2 now. I guess I'm going to buy the upgraded version of my ship, because I already know how to kind of drive with these specific stats in mind for these tracks. The tracks themselves, in terms of diversity, maybe I didn't play enough of the game, because like I said, like it says in the title, these are just first impressions for Redout. I've played only a couple of hours. I've only seen mostly desert tracks, and these tracks on, I think they're in the ice. It's like purple and white and stuff. So I can't really say that there's a whole lot of variety there, but at the same time, the one thing that I really like on the tracks is the corkscrews and the loops. Those feel really good, because again, it requires a lot more skill to do those than just do a regular track that doesn't have those. I also really like the jumps, to get the longest jump I possibly can. So that is something that is very satisfying. In terms of sound, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed. I really didn't like most of the sounds. Like, a lot of the sounds feel like they lack bass, in my opinion. Like when you're ramming against the sides of the track and stuff, just the sounds, they're just too trebly. There's not enough bass in there. It needs more in the sounds. And in regards to the soundtrack, I think the soundtrack feels, how should I put it, a little bit low budget. But in a way, I also have to say that at least the soundtrack in this game can be used by content creators and people that want to do live streams and stuff without having to worry too much about copyrighted issues. At least I hope so. We'll see once I post this video. But other than that, in terms of visuals, I think the game looks pretty good. The ship, the details on the ships are actually pretty simplistic, but then again, when you're going at God knows how fast you're going on those tracks, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. Another thing that I was not a huge fan of, though, was the collision with other ships. A lot of times, you can basically ram through other ships. It's almost like they're not even there. So it's like there's definitely a collision thing that happens, but basically, if you turbo boost through a bunch of people, you'll feel like there's something in your way, and you will hear like a bunch of ramming sounds, but you'll basically go through. You don't have to dodge them or nothing, And whereas, for instance, in other titles like in WipEout, if you try to ram someone from behind, you're basically pushing them forward and helping them recover whatever speed they might have lost. In this game, you can basically go straight through them, and I actually think it might be prejudicial it might actually be negative for your opponents if you ram them from behind, which is it's kind of a weird concept for a futuristic racer, in my opinion. But other than that, I mean, the gameplay feels fine. The sense of speed, which is one of the most important things, feels great. The visuals look good. I really wish the audio was a little bit better, and I wish we could have more variety within career mode without necessarily having to grind out credits to purchase additional ships in order to be able to swap back and forth. But I don't know. I guess it depends on each player. Like, if you're really looking for a career mode that feels like you're working with this team and just like upgrading your ship as you move along, you want to get that sense of progression, then maybe you'll enjoy it. Personally, I like the diversity. I like being able to pick and choose different ships for different races and stuff. It just keeps the game a little bit more fresh. But that's my opinion on Redout. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to subscribe if you're new so that you're always notified when a new video goes up, and I will see you guys in the next one.